What's up, Blue Grit Radio? Thanks for tuning back in. It is good to have you. Today I want to cover a quote and talk about some concepts. And this quote was presented in a podcast. If you want to know what it is, it's Tim Ferriss' podcast. Peter Tia, doctor, was on there talking about longevity and such. But when he said it, I had to rewind it back a couple times because it was one of those things that I heard and I was like, wait, what was that? That was really good. But what, like trying to dissect it and re-listen to it and interpret it. I had to rewind it a couple times and then I had to stop what I was doing, make a couple notes on my phone. I'll do this sometimes. And that way I could revisit it and Google the full quote, and I have it now. So I have it verbatim that I'll read to you and explain what my big takeaway was. Because when I heard it, immediately I thought about how to apply this in training environments, and whether that's law enforcement or your own industry or life skills, as you want to call them, just areas you want to grow. So here it is. The man who grasps principles can successfully select his own methods. The man who tries methods, ignoring principles, is sure to have trouble. And that's Emerson. So again, the man who grasps principles can successfully select his own methods. The man who tries methods, ignoring principles, is sure to have trouble. So why did that hit for me? It hit for me because as a field training officer, sergeant, overseeing the training unit for the time being, I'm harking back to my own training experiences, my experiences as a field trainer, and then the different capacities that I've been involved in, right? Whether it's been a supervisor, whether it's been on the crowd control team as a trainer, all these official training hats. I think about how we approach adult learning, how we approach the industry, and so many times, especially it's front of mind, front of brain, with new officers, with recruits, whether it's around the time of academy or whether they're just they're newly solo and they're kind of fumbling through things. Too often I see, and I fell victim to this for sure, too often I see us get stuck in the weeds. There's a lot to remember in a technical job like law enforcement. You have your checklist and you have your step-by-step how to approach this tactical situation or this potentially dangerous situation. You also have this laundry list of things that need to be accomplished to satisfy an investigative process. So that could be literally determining probable cause for a certain crime, this crime or that crime, making sure you have all the prongs. It could also be, how do I figure out this call to determine if there's a crime? It could also be just, hey, once you have the crime, like what are all the things, the little nitty-gritty details that you need to encapsulate in your case or in your investigation before it goes somewhere, so it actually does go somewhere. And when I think about that quote, it's highlighting the importance of principles, right? So concepts rather than the methods. So commonly in police training, and you can apply this to your line of work, commonly in police training, we talk about how there's a million ways to skin a cat, right? There's this way, that way. There's a lot of correct ways. There's a lot of more incorrect ways. But the hope is that you get exposed to different methods in your field training process, right? You have different trainers. You continue to glean from senior officers and your partners as you're doing the job. You're going to develop your own practices, your own techniques. But if you hyper-focus on those techniques, you get lost in the minutia of what you're actually doing. So let me provide an example. Frequently, there's new officers on the street that they go to a call and they kind of don't really know what to do. And they may have excelled in the book work. They may have excelled in academy scenarios when it's cut and dry. Boom, boom, boom. That's your grading rubric. These are the points you got to hit. These are the things you have to satisfy. But then when they enter the real world, as it is, they enter a call, they hyper-focus on the details in the CAD. So that's the computer-assisted dispatch. So that's the notes that come on your computer screen with the call. They hyper-focus on that. They hyper-focus on what they think the call may be or where it might go, when the things that need to accomplish, the questions they need to ask. But really, if you take a step back, that's focusing on the methods. How do I ask this question, or who do I talk to first? Focus on the principles, right? The principle when you get to a call is, how do you make the scene safe, right? So safety might be a principle. How do you accomplish the solution? How do you problem solve? Well, I need to talk to people. So what's more important than asking the right questions is just identifying who you need to talk to. And after you make the scene safe, you can do that, right? So if everyone's clamoring in a huddle as you arrive and it looks like someone's about to break out into a fight, then you and your partner address the concept, the principle of making the scene safe, right? You're not addressing the methods of, hey, separate people, have someone sit, have someone stand over there, put people in different rooms, but be in a hallway where you can maintain visual and audio contact with your partner. No, then you're getting lost in the weeds again, right? You're overcomplicating it for your brain. You're trying to assign all these little factors that might apply to this call, but then not that call. I hope you see where I'm going. Overcomplicating. Focus on the principles. The principles make the scene safe. So maybe that does mean, hey man, can you come talk to me over here? Maybe that means, hey, do you mind just waiting by your car for a moment? I'll be right with you. And then, if they don't listen, if they don't oblige, if something else presents, then you address that thing. This is really impactful when I think about defensive tactics. Recently, I've been helping out with my defensive tactics instructors team, helping with recruits, and it just so happened to coincide with when I started doing jiu-jitsu, and so it was a lot more fresh in my brain, my muscle memory, but also talking about concepts. And one of my instructors did a fantastic job, and I don't remember this from my own training going on 16 years ago, so I'm going to applaud him and hope that trainers are focusing in on this, which is mostly why I'm even talking about it. So on the training perspective, focusing on the principles, and the instructor said, hey, just think about the human body and think about how you can break down the structure, right? Break down the control points where you're strongest, collapse the body down if you're talking about, physical control. Whereas when I think back about how it was introduced to me, it was a lot more about the step-by-step process, like a straight arm bar is this, a bent arm bar is this, stand here, move your feet here, twist your hips this way, okay, no, your hand's too high, too low. But if an instructor back then had focused on, hey, the principle I want you to focus on here is spacing and disrupting their balance, right? So if the principle is disrupting their balance, then it's probably less critical right off the get-go that I figure out exactly where to place the blade of my forearm over the person's tricep. Right, first I might intuitively figure out, okay, I'm standing in such a way, or I'm not bending at the hips, that I'm awkward and I'm actually losing balance in front of this person. I can focus on the overall concepts and then get down into the nitty-gritty, right? So once I start feeling it out, then maybe the instructor's over my shoulder, like, okay, see how if you move up here, just move this. Do you feel like you have more control? Do you feel like you're able to disrupt balance better? And I'd be like, oh yeah, okay, I get it. So again, we focus on the overall, the concepts, the principles, rather than the methods, the techniques, the 1, 2, 3 checklist. And so hopefully you found this helpful, whether you are in that learning phase, whether you're a recruit, whether you're a new officer and you feel like you're drinking through the fire hose, as the adage goes, or if you're a trainer and you've gotten in, if you're an experienced trainer, you've probably gotten in the routine of what you teach, and you don't think specifically about how you teach it. I've definitely fallen into that camp. You become the subject matter expert, and you just kind of go through your rhythm, and it might be somewhat intuitive, less intentional. But take a step back and see how you could tweak your message, your curriculum to focus on the big rocks, if you want to put it that way, and then get into the fine details down the line. Okay, so short and sweet. That was the quote and the idea I wanted to present. Hopefully it was helpful to you. As always, if you have feedback, please shoot me a line. The best spot is going to be Instagram, Blue Grit Wellness, or shoot me an email at bluegritwellness@gmail.com. Please, as always, share this out. Share it out to who it would be helpful to, whether it's friends, family, coworkers, your team, your unit, and I will see you next time.